Welcome to today's video where I want to show you the best strategy to spend $10 a day on Google Ads so that you can see results fairly quickly. Now, I'm not sure whether it's the best in the world, of course, but it's the one that works very, very well for me, for clients, for students, as always. And we've been testing this over and over and over again. It's just some general principles that you have to follow, some steps. And in general, these are two different subsets within the strategy. So two different types that we use, so two different campaign types. And let's get right into it and start with the first part. So before I start, actually one little note. This campaign and this strategy, of course, is very useful if you run on a low budget. But even if you are on a better budget, but you just want to test a little slowly, and you probably run also Facebook ads and stuff like that, and you don't want to spend too much money on Google Ads too quickly, this is a great way to do business. However, if you have experience with Google Ads already and you have a higher budget, I recommend that you spend a little more so that you can see quicker results, so that you can actually test more, and so on and so forth. So this being said, the first step, actually very easy, spend $10 a day on Google Shopping. So why Google Shopping? Why $10 a day? If you have that limited budget, in my opinion, Google Shopping is the lowest hanging fruit, the best, the easiest thing that you can do in e-commerce these days. So in my opinion, there is no better way to spend $10 to get a relatively quick sale than Google Shopping. And the thing here is, guys, you should test 10 to 20 products max. I see two extremes all the time. One type of people, there are people who just test one or two products at a time. And the problem here is, of course, you're basically gambling that one out of those two products will be successful. And the other extreme is they say, well, it's so easy to just advertise a ton of products at once because I put all of them on my feed. So why don't I just advertise 80 products at once, right? Because I can do that. I don't have to create individual ads. I know many gurus recommend that. In my opinion, it's a really bad idea because you're highly diluting your ad budget. I told you that in multiple videos already, but it's very important. You will dilute your ad budget if you have only $10 a day and test 80 products at once. So 10 to 20 seems to be the golden sweet spot. I tend to be somewhere in the middle, like 20 is maybe a little bit high, but in general, this works very well. 15 is a really good number here so that you have a good middle between testing different things and not diluting your ad budget. And then the question is, did you find a winner, right? So did you find a winner that works for you? And if yes, well, put it into a separate campaign, scale that winner. But of course, this is the ideal, and this doesn't normally happen within like a few days. So if you find it, then, do all kind of things. You can still continue with the rest of the flowchart here, but if you have the winner, of course, the first goal is reached. If you didn't find a winner, there are multiple things. First of all, did you get enough data? If yes, decide whether to kill your product. So if you get enough data, which means you have like 80 clicks without a single sale, or maybe even 100 clicks, or you got a ton of Hotjar recordings, and you realize that everyone is just leaving immediately, or maybe your bounce rate is super high, or probably you also realize that people spend really low time on your site, which I also talked about in several videos. If the data comes in and you realize that it's looking really bad, then kill it early, because the point is, if you wait too long, like if you always wait for 100 clicks, if you always wait for 200 clicks, you are wasting way too much money. So decide whether to kill your product if enough data comes in. Now, I cannot really specify what enough really is. Like, I don't say, okay, 50 clicks, now I have to kill it, or it's a winner or something. You have to like develop a feeling for that a little bit. So if you 50 clicks without a sale is normally not really enough data, but once it gets in the like 70, 80 range, normally you should expect a sale there, especially if you're on a low ticket item. So if still no sales come in, if there are still just a very few add to carts or something, then it's typically a sign that you should just kill it. If you didn't get enough data, wait until you get more clicks, add to cart, session time, Hotjar recordings, etc. Two things are very important here. Google Analytics, everyone should have that. Whenever I see like e-commerce, Shopify stores not using Google Analytics, it's just crazy. I don't understand that. And the second is Hotjar, so that you can watch over your customers' shoulders and see what they're doing and where the weak points of your site are. So this is the Google Shopping part. It's actually very straightforward because with $10, there's not too much micromanagement that you can do. So if you expected some really long Google Shopping strategy here, actually for the overall $10 strategy does roughly look like this. But the second part of the whole thing is the search strategy. So if you spend $10 a day on search, you should focus on a category page. This is the best thing to do, at least. So you can do that if the shopping strategy, the shopping campaign was not successful, or probably you also want to try something new. So you want to start with search in the first place. Search can be very powerful because it tends to be less competitive and a little bit cheaper. So as I said, if a category page is recommended, but in general, you can test 1 or 2 categories or 1 or 2 products at once. You see already, you cannot test 20 products at once like on shopping, at least not if these are different products. Why? Because your Google, because your ad groups have to be related in itself. So you cannot advertise like a fidget spinner and some dog product in the same ad group, because that way you cannot really talk to the customer for both of these products. So 1 or 2 products or 1 or 2 categories. Both of them have to be related. So if you use a category, all the products have to be related within that category. Then create 2 ads per ad group. And this is really important. If you just have a small budget, you want to make sure that you find what's working for you best very early on, so that you're not wasting all that money. So if you create 1 ad and then duplicate it, and basically what I recommend is to remove all the text from it so that you can start from 0 again and basically write an entirely new ad, because the second ad should be as different as possible from the first one. Doing so makes sure that you do all you can to get enough people to your site. And if you just change little things, like if you just change the headline a little bit, if you just change the display URL, this just doesn't have a big effect. Change everything so that you can see which of them actually works better. Then use all the ad extensions that are out there. So use the promotion extension, which is very powerful, especially now when we are getting into Black Friday and Cyber Monday and things like that. Also, site links, super important so that your ad appears bigger. Call outs are super important so that you can add stuff like free shipping, etc., without having to include it in your ad description and headline. Use all that extensions. If you use all of them, in our cases, CTRs often go up by 50, sometimes even 100% if you use them correctly and if you use many of them. Then, very important that you review your search term report on a daily basis. So the search term report is the most important tool for search, but also for Google Shopping in a way. And it shows you what people Googled to find your ads and to click. And if you realize that those queries are not really matching with what you have to offer, you are basically wasting money. So a little example, if you don't have a really strict match type and you want to sell shoes for women, for example, you might see that all your customers are actually looking for shoes for men, like man shoes, male shoes, basketball shoes and things like that. Because your match type wasn't strict enough and you may not have thought about that, you see that those people are looking for entirely wrong phrases, and you're basically wasting all that money because the chance that someone buys is really, really low. So check your search term report daily. Exclude what you don't need in like negative keywords, and if you find something that is going actually very well, put it into your normal ad group, into your normal keyword list. And then, very important, as I told you, negative keyword list, but remove non-perfect search terms immediately. Like if you see something that is poorly performing, if you see something that is not 100% perfect, remove it, because with your budget, you can only look for the very best. If you have a very high budget, it doesn't really matter, because you can test multiple queries, you can test multiple things, and probably they turn out to be successful later on. But with $10 a day, every single click takes away a lot of your daily budget. So you need to make sure that you get only the best queries possible so that you can see some results quickly. Else, if you get all kind of stuff with only $10, it's eaten up in a blink of an eye, basically, and it's very hard to see some results in a moderate amount of time. This being said, these were 2 separate, quite basic strategies, quite basic ways to do that. But there are also some notes. And the first is, don't run multiple campaigns with $10 a day. Like if you only have $10 a day at your disposal, it's a very bad idea to run like a display campaign, a search campaign, a shopping campaign. I know people who do that, and it's very bad because you cannot focus. The data cannot really fully optimize. And if you truly want to test multiple things at once, increase your budget. There is no other way around that. The second is, make best guess it when it comes to statistical significance. So as I told you before, you cannot always wait for actual statistical significance the way it's mathematically correct, because this would just take too much time and too much money. Sometimes you have to pick what's there. Like you have to look at your data and see, oh, well, 2 add to carts, 60 clicks, no sale yet. Probably I have to kill it now. Some statisticians would say it's not done yet. You still have the chance to sell and stuff like that. And it's true. But the point is, with a limited budget, you cannot always wait until you're 100% sure. You need to make assumptions when it's important. The third one is, high ticket is way easier than low ticket. So if you apply the strategy to a high ticket item, and by the way, guys, as I told you, check the description for my high ticket live training on Sunday. We have already 300 people registered. If you use high ticket with this, it is easier. Why? Because you sell one product and you literally have potentially hundreds of dollars back into your account that you can then reinvest. So if you sell like a low ticket item here, a low ticket there on the way, you probably still cannot increase your budget from $10 to $20 or $30. But if you sell one $400 high ticket item on your way to test and on your way to build your campaign, suddenly you can have a daily budget of $25 or something because of that one single sale. The fourth one is, don't pick super high CPC niches. This is very hard. I know that these are also the ones that usually have the better products or the higher conversions or whatever, at least sometimes. But the point is, if you pay $2 or $1.50 for a click, you get 8 clicks per day, and it's basically all that you can check. And this doesn't really work. That way you can never get even close to some sort of statistical significance. So pick niches that are not hyper competitive, like diet stuff, like phone accessories tend to be super competitive. So these are things that you shouldn't go into with that small budget. And then the last note, properly build your website, backend, or funnel before spending money. And this is so important. I see people on a shoestring budget, and they also have a lot of time. Like they tell me, hey, I work in my business 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day or whatever, and I start advertising, can you review my store? And then I see something that looks so terrible, and there is no upselling strategy, there is no backend, there is no real funnel build, there is nothing. But they already started advertising, and they already started spending their little budget. Especially if you have a small budget, because you usually also have a lot of time when you build your business. Make sure that everything is prepared 100% before you invest a single dollar in ads, because every dollar that you invest in ads before you fully build your backend and prepared everything is basically a dollar that is wasted, or at least some part of it is wasted. So make sure that you do that. It's probably the second most important tip that I just noted there. Very important that you do that. Very important that you review a store, post it in a Facebook group, let other people check it. Of course, in the end, the sales will say whether it works or not, but it's a good idea to follow certain best practices and to build your store the right way. So this being said, guys, I hope that you like this $10 a day strategy. As I told you, there is not too much that you can do. There are not too many details when you have such a low budget. Like you cannot use a lot of different ad tools. It doesn't really make sense to highly segment your stuff. So this is why this looks kind of basic, but I hope that it was still helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Let me know what your daily budget for Google Ads is, because probably I see like where you guys are struggling with for some future ideas. As always, of course, if you want to take your Google Ads skills to the next level to sell your product successfully, make sure that you check out the link in the description. I'm giving away my Google Ads course, at least 2 copies of them for free. All you have to do is click the link in the description and take basically join our giveaway. And yeah, maybe you're lucky and you get one of the 2 copies that I will give away soon in around 10 days. But also make sure that you check the high ticket live training, of course, Link is in the description as well. I will hold it this Sunday. It will be a great thing if you want to finally make the transition from cheap, low-ticket items to expensive, high-ticket quality stuff. This being said, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I really hope that you learned something here today. And I hope that you like this video and subscribe so that I will see you tomorrow in the next one, guys. Take care and all the best with your business. Bye-bye.